Good day to you all. Justin Ian is back again, and I know I said that I was going to play a different game at the end of the previous video, but I'm not quite done with World Heroes 2 just yet. Now, I am making this video, well, partially because I was planning on doing it eventually, but also I want to make this video as a special thank you to my first commenter on my first Let's Play. So, thank you very much to Tsugumi Sendo for commenting on my first Let's Play and leaving a nice comment, not one that's just something like, hee hee hee, I got first comment. But I'm glad that someone left something constructive and kind on my first video. So, thank you very much, Tsugumi Sendo. This video is for you because I know you said it would be pretty cool if I played the Deathmatch mode in World Heroes 2. And that's right, I am playing the Deathmatch mode this time, and I'm going to show off how overpowered Mudman is. A minor note before we start, though, I've decided to leave all of the options to their default, and yes, I'm going to be a hypocrite by leaving the time limit on. I know I said last time that I hate time limits, but for the Deathmatch mode in World Heroes 2, the time limit, having it on is a good thing just because of how the life gauge system works, and I will show you that when we get to it. Another very small note, I found out what Mask does. It is not actually intended for Halloween parties, although it is scary, so you could use it for that occasion. But what the Mask actually does is it hides your life gauge from you, so you don't know how you're doing in a match until the match is over. And whoever won, you'll see however much health they had remaining at the end of the match. But it makes it quite intense because you don't know when the last hit's going to land. You don't know when one of you is going to get knocked out. So that makes it so scary! Anyway, I'm just going to leave the mask off because I'd like to... I don't want people to be completely on the edge of their seats. I know this is a death match, but, we want people to know how much longer it's going to take. Anyway, let's just jump right in. All of our options are at the default. We got the time limit on, so let's go for it. Go to the one-player game mode, having a little solo death match. I'm gonna be dying by myself. Well, that was a depressing thing to say. Anyway, yes, let's pick Mudman. And of course, we're going to deathmatch. Ignore that it said survival match. Oh my goodness, who is going to survive? Seriously. Why did they change... Is deathmatch too violent for us American folk? Anyway, yes, going to be showing off how overpowered Mudman is in the deathmatch. And our first opponent is Captain Kidd. Oh dear, how well are we going to do? Where are we going anyway? Well, I can't properly show off deathmatch in this match because the death traps aren't here yet. This stage is actually quite normal. Nothing wrong with this stage. I mean, maybe the audience might throw something at us, but other than that, I don't see anything deadly happening here. But yes, usually how deathmatch works is the stages have death traps in them, but this one is different. Strange that we're starting it first. And, well, before I start talking about how awesome Mudman is, let's point out the life meter. Notice how it's kind of a seesaw, as this game calls it. Basically, if I hit my opponent, he loses health, and I gain health, essentially. And if he hits me, it's the other way around. So, as you could probably guess... Oh, that was a dramatic finish. As you can probably guess... Oh, another thing, there's a count to 10 when you've knocked your opponent down. Much like in boxing. And if your opponent stays down for the 10 count, then you win. There you have it. But let's talk about how this life gauge system works. Basically, if you and your opponent are effectively trading blows, you could be there all day, which is why I put the time limit on, so, it won't last all day. Nothing is greater than the power of the universe, man. Yeah, I've decided that Mudman is actually a hippie. You'll see some more things that he does that suggest he's a total hippie. Well, now we're going to America. Are we going to see any more of the death traps? Well, we're fighting Johnny Maximum. That guy's a death trap on the field. So we're kind of working our way up in these matches, because this isn't really that severe of a death trap. Basically, we have some water that's running beneath us, and the current is pushing us from side to side. Sometimes it works in my favor, and it pushes me towards my opponent. Other times, it pushes me away from my opponent, and I can't close the distance between us. But the closer I look at this stage, do you see how there's oil cans back there, and they're kind of being routed into the pipe system. So it's like they're pouring the oil at us, but it's water. It's clearly water. Now, when I played the Japanese version of this game, I only played up to the point where the skeleton's head fell off, and that instantly sold the game for me. So I didn't see this stage in the Japanese version. So I'm pretty sure in the Japanese version, the water in this stage is actually oil. Don't know why they changed that in the American version, but I can hear voices from the sky, man. This guy's been listening to way too much Moody Blues. By the way, that's a good band, the Moody Blues. If you haven't heard of them, you need to lay your ears upon them. And I already know which stage we're going to now, the minefield. Oh dear, I hate this stage. This is where we start seeing some proper death traps, things that can directly hurt you by blowing you up. So yeah, just try to avoid those mines. One good thing is that if you're standing on a mine, you can like that, you can jump off of it before it explodes, and that will help you out there. But about the previous stage, this is just a hypothesis, but I'm pretty sure that in the Japanese version that was not water beneath us that we're fighting the currents of. That was probably actually oil in the Japanese version. It was probably colored more like oil. I don't know for sure, but I would, if you're gonna change deathmatch to survival match, and what other changes were made to this game, and if you're gonna keep the head from falling off of the skeleton with the American version, I'm not surprised that they changed oil into water. We crazy Americans, we'd probably picture a match being tossed in there, and then, what happens after that? We have lots of fire. Okay, I'm not going to do that anymore. But now that I've kind of explained deathmatch and why I've got the time limit on for it so that we don't seesaw all day like what we're doing right now, getting blown up by landmines. But now that I've kind of explained deathmatch, I'd like to explain Mudman. He's awesome. He's kind of like the Faust of this game, but one thing I really love about his character is that, just like Johnny Maximum and Rasputin are interesting in that how often do you see a wizard or a football player in a fighting game, how often do you see a shaman in a fighting game? I've honestly, how did that happen? I've honestly never seen a shaman in a fighting game before. I'm trying really hard to think. Have I seen one? But no, not that I can think of. So yeah, Mudman is very interesting because he's like if Faust from Guilty Gear and if Mumbo Jumbo from Banjo-Kazooie had a baby. And I apologize in advance for any mental images that might have given you. But before you escape from that mental image, let me just say that it's not complete unless the music is playing behind it that plays... Oh, we got a timeout. But yeah, that mental image is not complete unless the music is playing behind it that plays when Mumbo Jumbo casts a spell in Banjo-Tooie. Yeah, I know you guys sitting in the back and play Banjo-Tooie. I see you laughing back there. Mighty spirits, huh? Yeah, I know what kind of spirits this guy's been summoning. Anyway, yes, so Mudman is a very likable character. I like him. Even if he wasn't very powerful, I would still play as him. And actually, that would probably get me to play as him more often because it would be more of a challenge, and I'd feel more accomplished for doing well as Mudman. But another thing I like about Mudman, or what makes him overpowered, is the mud cutter. See this thing I keep doing where he gets up under the mask and spins around like that? That is a ridiculously effective move. It's a lot like Rasputin's Axel, what was it? Axel spin? That one? It's a lot like that, except, well, let's say that if you're Rasputin and you're doing the axle spin, your opponent tries to do a sweep. They will very likely hit you because your feet are still on the ground. With Mudman and his mud cutter, his feet are not on the ground. The area beneath him is completely clear. So any sweeps that your opponent attempts are going to go right under you, and it's going to be a complete whip. And if they try to attack from above, then that's going to be ineffective too because they don't really have anywhere to hit. So the Mud Cutter is a ridiculously overpowered move. If you're playing as Mudman, use it as often as possible, pin your opponent into the corner, and grab them when you can. Grabs are very good in this game. This is one of the few games where I actually like grabbing my opponent. So whoa! As you might have noticed, the death trap for this stage is a laser beam. I get the feeling Dr. Wily is floating around here shooting these laser beams at us. Come to think of it, that does kind of look like his fort in the background, doesn't it? Just need the skull. Anyway, we're dancing because we won. And yeah, Mudman is actually very overpowered, as I said. The only thing that can get through his mud cutter, his only weakness is Shoryuken type of attacks. Those always seem to be ridiculously effective against everything. Yep, Mighty Spirits quote again. But yeah, Mudman is ridiculously effective especially for deathmatch mode. Because he's very aggressive, and even if you have the time limit off, you can put lots of pressure on your opponent, and you'll probably hit them a lot more than they'll hit you, which means that you will win the fight very quickly in deathmatch mode, and you won't be rocking back and forth as you otherwise would. So let's talk about this stage for a bit. This stage is, well, there's nothing really to talk about. No death traps here. It's a lot like that ring that I was fighting Captain Kidd in, except this time we're on some sort of an elevator? Actually, this looks more like the Wonkavator from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Anybody ever see that movie? I know, it's really obscure. You probably haven't even heard of it, don't know any of the actors in it. I mean, who's Gene Wilder, you know? But we just totally defeated Eric here, and he's down for the count. I get the feeling he might stand up, though, because you know how that works. We're getting later in the game. But no, he's not standing back up. Guess he couldn't lift all that back up and continue fighting. But yeah, doesn't this stage look like the Wonkavator? And we're just moving on as Mudman. He's ridiculously good for this mode. But if I'm honest, Mudman is good for any occasion. Aside from perhaps formal dinner parties. Yeah, don't bring Mudman to a formal dinner party. So now we're going to the South Pole. And it looks like I'm a dancing with myself. Oh. The death trap for this stage is two Mudmen jumping around. I'm sure that saw blade is very frightened. But yeah, in all honesty, the death trap is the saw blade. No lava is involved in the making of this stage, aside from the background. So you don't have to worry about burning your little tushy. Does anyone use the word tushy anymore? Back in my day, we used the word tushy for everything, even breakfast, so you'd be eating lots of tush for breakfast. So yeah, simple way of doing this stage is just jump over the saw blade when it comes by. Just jump at it, jump over it, wave at it as it walks past. Jump right into those projectiles, and then get cut by the saw blade, because I'm not doing too well. Actually, I'm doing very well. Come on. Mudman can defeat himself. I know he can. Doing it with a grab. So, the other Mudman is down for the count, and we're doing our little dance. Well, that didn't last long. So, this is deathmatch mode. Frightening, isn't it? Got death traps everywhere. Now, when Sugumi Sendo left that comment on my previous video, thanks once again, Sugumi Sendo. Don't know how many times I'm going to thank you in this episode, so keep count. But when she left the comment, she said that that deathmatch is actually more fun than the arcade mode. Or at least I think she said that. I hope I'm not misquoting. But in my opinion, Yeah, it's more interesting. I mean, I personally prefer playing the arcade mode, but that's just my personal preference. This mode is actually quite exciting. Oh, and one note that I should tell you guys is that you do not have to play this mode with this seesaw life gauge going on and this 10 count happening whenever you knock your opponent down. You can play this mode. There's the life gauge option in the options menu. You can set it to normal, and it will make it so that no matter which mode you're playing, it's the standard one that you get in the arcade mode, the one that depletes and you don't heal yourself when nothing is greater than the power of the universe, man. Thanks for that input, Mudman. But yeah, you can switch the life gauge option to normal life gauge, and it will make it so that you have those life gauges that deplete, and you don't have the rocking back and forth. I would highly recommend that for this mode. But, of course, I'm just kind of showing off how Deathmatch mode naturally is in its natural state. Naturally. Anyway, this stage is lots of fun because we have needles on both edges of the stage. You knock your opponent into it, he takes damage. Simple as that. Also, those ladies in the background, I have no idea why they're here. This stage is starting to remind me of that prison stage in Mortal Kombat Deception. You know, with the crushing spikes and the past Mortal Kombat characters in the prison cells and they grab you when you get too close. I'd like to see what these ladies would do if you get too close to them and they're at the edge of the stage. They should have been the death trap here. But instead we have these needles, which are very nice if you're not the one getting knocked into them. Like that. Take it, Hanzo. So, we're further demonstrating why Mudman is good for this mode, and Mudman, you shouldn't jump into the spikes like that. Here, let's make up for that by jumping over the opponent and teaching him who's boss. So yes, as demonstrated here, the Mud Cutter is only weak to the Shoryuken type of moves. But it's very good for dodging the Shuriken that Hanzo is tossing. Well. And yes, where did those ladies come from? What are they doing here? But, you know, I don't care. We got some physics in the background in this random factory. I mean, what, when Hanzo came to this fight, did he just bring two of his little screaming fangirls with him and say, "Hey dudes, you're gonna be fighting Mudman at the factory. Come with me and I'll give you both my autograph at the same time, dude." Sure, Hanzo's feeling good about himself right now. Yeah, that's gotta feel good backing into that spiky. Hanzo, you didn't have to back into the wall to demonstrate. We know what the spiky wall does. But yeah, that's gotta feel kinda good backing into that spiky wall, getting some free acupuncture. See, Mudman likes it. And hopefully Hanzo will go to sleep this time. Come on, Hanzo, what am I gonna have to do? Give you a pillow and a teddy bear? But we won, so that's all good. And it's counting down the points. Here, let's skip the countdown of the points. I don't know why I didn't do that before. And Mudman's going on about his usual ramblings. He's gonna go find the next place to listen to a Moody Blues concert. That's what's going on. Mudman's trying to get to Woodstock, and he's having to fight everyone who gets in his way. Well, now we're in Italy, or Germany, or Antarctica. America? Where are we? Oh, I love this stage. This stage is a lot like the spiky wall stage, except there are bombs on the wall. Michael Bay's probably in that audience back there, but you can't see him because he's rolling around on the floor. He's just so excited he can't stand up. He's saying, "Yes, explosions!" But the deal with this stage is that, sure, the bombs are cool, but they're not there all the time. If you, or hopefully your opponent, run into the bombs will go away for a brief period of time, but then they'll come back. Come on, get into the bombs, Rasputin. Just like that. It's gotta be a really bad way to get knocked out. Yeesh. How are any of these characters still alive? They just keep They just keep getting blown up and set on fire. Mudman got set on fire. Wouldn't his mask just burn down to nothing? Then he'd make a little painting of a smiley face on his hand and on both of his hands and cover his face with it. But yes, we're kicking Rasputin's butt as we always do when he's an opponent in the arcade mode. Kicking his butt and he's playing defense, and we're just using the mud cutter on him and pinning him into the corner. That's what you do as Mudman. That's how you make him overpowered. Now, while I'm thinking about it, and while I have time to discuss something with you, I'm going to be honest with you about something. This is my second time recording a full playthrough of this game. I mean, of Deathmatch mode. Yes, I did a recording of it previously, and I thanked Sugumi Sendo and everything like that, and I had... Voices are calling him. Lay off the drugs, Mudman. I think Mary Jane's calling him to the next place. But anyway, I made a full recording and everything, and now we're going to Italy, finally. Where's the pizza? Brocken, what are you doing in Italy? Well, we're back to this stage again, so I have time to talk about Brocken getting acupuncture. But yes, I did a recording of this game, and something about... I guess my computer was on too high of a display setting or something. I had too many programs running in the background. Well, there was just one program running in the background that I found a way to close it. I don't know why it was running all the time. It seemed unnecessary, but anyway, I took care of that, and the thing is, I recorded this playthrough previously, and the minefield stage and the oil slick stage were completely frozen. Like, the screen just froze there, and it stayed frozen throughout my entire playthrough. Look at Brocken headbanging over there. Is he listening to some, crud. Is he listening to some, darn, I can't think of any heavy, hard rockin' bands right now. All I listen to is, like, Bread, and what else is easy listening that I listen to? And The Cure. Well, The Cure can be rockin'. And Level 42. Anybody like Level 42? Any of my British fans? I love Level 42. They're like my favorite band. But let's not ramble about bands right now. Ooh. Oingo Boingo's pretty hard rockin'. Maybe Brocken was listening to that. But anyway, I recorded a full playthrough of this deathmatch mode previously, and the entirety of the minefield stage and the oil slick stage were frozen. Just, the screen was frozen while I was playing through it. And I'm aware that in my first playthrough of this game on the normal arcade mode, there were some moments where the game would freeze up for about or the recording would freeze up for about 5 seconds. Headbanging over there. And I'm kind of willing to let that slide, just kind of. But I'm not going to let it slide if an entire stage is frozen while I'm playing it. I mean, that's, in my opinion, that's unacceptable. And I know that you are your own worst critic, but I think that is a criticism worth listening to, is that, hey man, I watched your playthrough and the entirety of one of the fights was just one screen. It was frozen. So this is a second playthrough of it, and there's the Terminator again. And honestly, Mudman's listening to the Moody Blues again. Honestly, I'm not getting tired of playing through this game on deathmatch mode. I'm enjoying it. I love playing as Mudman. I love playing as all the characters. I love playing this game. And I love whatever this country is. Japan? Australia? I don't know. Geology was not my strong suit in school. But what is my strong suit is doing the mud cutter and rambling. And let me point out that you've probably noticed Genghis Khan, when he ducks, and he doesn't do anything stupid, that is, when he ducks, it goes under the mud cutter. So Genghis Khan kind of has an advantage in this fight. Because I'm just hovering above his head like an idiot, and he's doing all these defensive moves. Guess Genghis Khan is kind of like a mix between Genghis Khan and Napoleon because he's kind of short. He's got the little man syndrome. Uh-oh. Buzzsaw's coming my way. What do we do? Do something stylish. Also, you probably noticed that Mudman tries really hard to get away from his opponent after he's knocked him down. I guess that's to show the referee, hey, look, I'm not touching him. I'm not giving him a pillow and a teddy bear and encouraging him to go to sleep. Speaking of which, where is the referee? Who's counting to 10? Is Dr. Wily counting to 10? Is the same guy who's counting to 10 the guy who's operating this buzzsaw? Because if so, I'd like for him to stop operating the buzzsaw so that he can count to 10 a little faster. One thing I'd like to point out is I'm not too clear on, like, if the time were to run out, which it may very well do that, would the judgment go to, would the winner be determined on how much health is remaining, or would how many times I knocked my opponent down factor into that? Like how many times my opponent was literally down for the count? Which one would factor into that? Would they both? I mean, if I knock my opponent down and he gets up and has more health than I do, you know, he ends up getting some hits in on me and the time runs out, then who wins? Am I going to win because I knocked my opponent down for the count and he did a little Saturday Night Live dance there? What was he doing? And might I just point out that the animation... Mudman, don't jump on that! That's dangerous! Speaking of which, I mean, who works in this factory? OSHA's gonna have something to say about this buzzsaw going across where two co-workers are fighting over the last burrito. Speaking of which, I don't like burritos. I don't like Mexican food. No offense. I'm more of an Asian food type of person. Yeah, Mudman, keep telling yourself that you got spooky ghosties protecting you. Now we're going to Germany. Finally. No, I'm just joking. I know this is Italy. And it's final boss time. We're fighting Neo Gigas, or however you pronounce that name. Does Willy Wonka know that we're using the Wonkavator to have a little fighting tournament? I mean, what? Is he off singing and dancing with the Oompa Loompas somewhere while we're fighting in this Wonkavator? Maybe he and the Oompa Loompas are all asleep right now. You know, maybe they're just taking a little nap after making so much chocolate. Speaking of which... Great, he used the explosion move. But speaking of which, where do Willy Wonka and the Oompa Loompas sleep? Do they all sleep in the same room? And if so, who gets top bunk? Many questions here. Whose elevator is this? Why is this an elevator? Is there a helicopter overhead that's carrying us in a circle, in a spinning motion that's showing us the town? Is this platform actually just spinning around in place and we're both getting very motion sick right now? I don't want to think of that. I get motion sick real easily, I gotta say. Yep. Much as I like to play video games, I can't whip out some WarioWare or any Castlevania in the car. I have to just sit there, keep my eyes on the road, keep focused, or else you know what's gonna happen. Yep, that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm just gonna get out of my seat and start dancing. We're gonna have a musical number in the car. That's dangerous. Don't do that. Also, don't study under the Neo Gigas dojo, because he'll teach you how to do a self-destruct attack on your opponent, and I can already tell you that's... Unless you're whatever type of creature Neo Gigas is, I don't think that's going to end well if you self-destruct on your opponent. But it will end well if you grab onto them like Mudman and punch them like a monkey. That's one thing I gotta point out about Mudman. I like his attack animations. I think it's very, very creative and very clever how he has these little spirits coming out of his mask, and you might have a spirit's head come out, you might have his arm or his leg. Actually, I don't know if the arm comes out. I think it's just the face or the leg. There's one attack that Mudman does. Let's see if I can get him to do it. Probably not, but... No, come on. Gonna have to do the mud cutter. But yeah, Mudman has this one attack. Time is up. Sorry, Neogigas. Looks like you can't conquer the world because time ran out and I had more health than you. Neogigas got kind of small, didn't he? Like, he shrunk. That's disturbing. Gosh, Neogigas melting. So, they changed deathmatch to survival match, and they keep a skeleton's head from falling off. But they show us that hideous picture of Neogigas melting. Oh, by the way, something that happened in the previous test playthrough of... It wasn't a test, but the test playthrough of Deathmatch mode that didn't happen this time, that I gotta point out that's really, really, really disturbing, is, yes, I fought Jan. She was actually kind of easy. And if you defeat Jan, I don't know if it's just as Mudman, but if you defeat Jan, her losing portrait, she's bald. And honestly, I hadn't seen that before I played this game, you know, in the previous recording that I'm definitely not going to put on YouTube because parts of it froze. But she's bald in her losing portrait, like as part of the agreement on what the loser has to do. Part of the bet is that she shaves her head, I guess. I don't know, but it was really disturbing, and I legitimately freaked out when I saw it. It was quite a funny reaction. I was going, ah. Look at Dio headbanging over there. I mean, what's he listening to? Once again, I got nothing. I don't listen to any heavy rockin' bands. I just listen to David Gates and Brett and Richard Marx. Oh man, I love Richard Marx. That's another good one. I know my taste in music is kind of older than I am, but come on. Gotta love that Richard Marx. And Fred is really good too. Anyway, Dio's kicking my butt. But I think I've got him on the ropes now, quite literally, these barbed wire ropes. Anyway, yeah, try defeating Jan in this game, or try being defeated as Jan, it might work that way. She gets bald in her losing portrait. I don't know if it happens if you're the one playing as Jan, because you know how much I play as Jan. Maybe the game's just that easy where I don't lose that much when I play as Jan. I don't know. Although usually I have this thing where if I think I'm going to lose the match, I'm going to go ahead and try a different character out, or go back to the main menu, something. Kind of cowardly, I know, I admit it. But yeah, when I saw that bald losing portrait of Jan, I freaked out. It was legitimately terrifying. And no, I don't have a fear of bald people or bald women. There's nothing wrong with bald women, it's just, it took me by surprise because Dio's headbanging again. Well, sorry, Dio. I guess you're not going to take over the universe because the time ran out. Sorry. I find that quite funny, by the way. Oh, yes, I have gotten rid of the evil Dio! Well done, my faithful servant, pious cloud of swamp slime. For your efforts, I invite you to the sky! And so, Mudman rose to the heights of the eternal kingdom, a slimy servant to the will of the Great One. Mudman, what in the world did you take? I want some! Anyway, yeah, I find that very funny that the final boss of the game is going, I will take over the entire universe! And then you say, sorry, but the time limit ran out, and I have more health than you do, so you lose. And then the final boss says, curses! Foiled again! I'll get you next time, Mudman, if it's the last thing I... Darn it, time ran out again. So yes, I think I'm done with this game now. of course, I'm going to be playing it on my own time, but as far as recording it goes, I mean, maybe I'll show off some other characters sometime, I guess, but I showed off the arcade mode and the deathmatch mode. I showed off my posse of characters in this game, Jan, Rasputin, and Mudman. Those are my main people. And is still the best hero. But yeah, as far as recording this game goes, I'm gonna go ahead and say I'm done with it. I'll play this game on my own time because it's very good. It's a good fighting game. I like it. Maybe it's not my favorite, but I like it. And so I can truthfully say, thank you very much, Tsugumi Sendo, for leaving a nice comment on my first Let's Play. This video has been for you. It's for you. So, nice little gift for you. And this is Justin Ian, and I'm going to go play another game.